podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruver. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Welcome to another edition of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford.
And I am Kathy Gruver, and we are so excited to bring this topic to you today. This is something we both have been using not only in our own lives, but we teach other people, and it is being negative.
What?
That's not, no, that's wrong. It's about positivity and crafting affirmations. This is something I've been literally doing since high school. So we thought this would be a really good topic today.
Well, yeah, I think it is a good topic because like you said, I mean, we teach people how to do this, because again, it's like one of the biggest things, actually, somebody this week was asking me, what makes the biggest difference, right? What's been like the tactic that's helped the most? And I'm like, dude, it's your mindset, right? And affirmations are a big part of that because you can have 5 people that are following the same exact process and 4 of them fail and 1 makes it. And the difference is their mindset and their beliefs. And affirmations are a big piece of that. And I know as we were talking before we hit record, I think, we'll go through and talk about some tips for how to do it and how to improve it, because I think there's some mistakes that people are making. And one of them is, just to throw out there to begin with, is you don't give it enough time.
Yeah.
Right.
We're impatient.
We're impatient. What you mean I can't just like do an affirmation once or twice and then all of a sudden it's like there?
It's magic. Hey, that would be awesome. And if I could teach everyone how to do that type of affirmation,
and that would be great, right?
That would be awesome. I wouldn't have to worry about paying if I paid the rent or not. No, yes, time is absolutely one of the things. The other thing that I've seen people do, and when I've taught it, is focusing still on that thing they don't want. They affirm like incorrectly. So I was working with a guy, his issue was money, and we all have typically one aspect of our lives, whether it's food, weight, health, that sort of thing, or relationships or money. Those tend to be the main categories people get negative about. And this guy was having money stuff. Everything was, I'm broke, I can't afford that, da, 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 da. I said, let's work with affirmations. Make them short, positive, put them in the present moment, repeat them often. He crafting. I said, okay, what'd you come up with? And he goes, someday I'll not be broke. I went, no, fail, totally not even close to what I just told you to do. I am prosperous and abundant. So I think that's the other thing, is we're so used to saying what we don't want and those things that we're trying to get away from, that often when we try to craft affirmations, we make them negative. I'm no longer in pain. It's like, well, but all the mind hears is pain. So let's make them positive affirmations, positive, and be patient with them.
Yeah, so let's take because you've shared right there a couple of different examples of ones that if people are writing affirmations that way, so if and there's different ways you can do it, right? You can write them down, you can say them out loud, you can do both, and we'll talk a little bit about that because I think there's some processes that you can do that are better at actually recording them where they need to go. But like you said, both of those 2 examples, someday I'll no longer be broke. Okay, so let's tear that apart a little bit and talk about, why. Because like you said, that's even though we think when we first write it that, oh, this is great, it's like there's some problems with that, right? Someday is not about the current or about the present moment or the future, because again, the affirmations can be something that has not happened yet. But we are programming ourselves to believe and to be in that space as if it's already happened.
Yep.
So someday, that sort of a term is so what would be a better term to use instead of someday?
Well, just cutting that out. I mean, unless you're specifically doing manifestation stuff like we talked about Victoria with, you don't need to put a date on it. It's just, I am prosperous and abundant. You want to put it in the present moment as if it's already happened. So to say someday, first of all, if you are trying to do crafting and manifestation, that is way too vague. If you want to put a thing on, then put some numbers on it. By July 3rd, I have $5 million. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that down.
You write that down?
Note that. So if you're going to put a time on it, make it specific. But to me, the way I've always been taught is you just make them present. I am prosperous and abundant. I have enough money. I, can do that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the tips that I've learned is craft them as I am statements.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as an I am. And so again, the thing could be in the future, right? But you are again telling yourself I am, either in this present moment or in a future state, whether or not there's a time associated with it or not, but I am. And so, for my belief statements, and we'll talk about kind of later some of the differences between belief versus manifestation type statements. But for me, they all should start with I am.
Yep.
And that's an easy format. And then make sure that I like to use ing verbs, so acting verbs, right? So, whatever you're putting in there, you want to make sure and craft it in such a way that you're using an ing word because it's active,
right.
and it makes your body think about you actually doing something, right? Now, the other thing was, he said, one of them was about pain. Pain was put in there, and the other one, the word broke.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's wrong with words like that?
Well, that's something we don't want. We don't want to be broke. So him saying, I no longer want to be broke. Well, sure, you can say that. But if you're crafting it as an affirmation, you want to bring the positive thing in, because our brain doesn't respond to not or no longer. It just hears the word broke. So if you're constantly focusing on broke or lack or pain or loneliness, that's I'm no longer lonely. Well, but then all the brain hears is lonely, and it's going to bring you more of that. So that thing you focus on, that's what you're going to get more of. So focus on that positive thing you want.
Yeah, because that goes back again to law of attraction kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And so instead of using words like broke or debt or other things like that, because another one that I've heard a lot of people say is, I will be out of debt. Oof. Again, debt is a word like broke or other things like that, where it's the negative. It's what we don't want. So get those negative don't want words out of there. Because like you said, words like not or don't, our brain just skips over those and we focus on that other word instead. So so saying something like, I am prosperous and abundant, or abundance is flowing to me. Things like that you hear are much better because they're a positive word about a future state, and you get those negative things out. So that's probably the first thing, right? Is kind of, figure out, make sure that you're crafting those things in such a way that actually what it is. Because here's like an embarrassing example for me, right?
Okay.
There we go. I had one for a while about, kind of about building a waiting list of people wanting to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds great. And
Sure.
then one day I was writing that and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't want a waiting list of people that are waiting to work with me. I want people who want to work with me now.
Yeah.
It's like,
valid point.
A waiting list of, 100,000 people that are like, Jason's great. I want to work with him, but I'm not. That doesn't pay the rent. Okay.
Waiting.
So that's one too. Because I think that's another kind of tip for people is,
Mm-hmm.
as you start to craft these out, you're probably going to revise or change them, because you're going to realize that, like that in this instance, that wasn't what I really wanted.
Yeah.
It was better than what I'd written before,
Sure.
but it wasn't as good as what I have now, as
Right.
an example. So you can go ahead and change and modify as you're going through this.
Which brings up a really good point of, what do you want? What do you want? I had done one of my stress talks and we were talking about affirmations, and a woman came up to me afterwards and she said, what if somebody is affirming something that is completely irrational? I said, oh, okay, like what? She said, well, I have a client, she's a psychologist, psychiatrist, something like social worker. And she said, I have a client who his affirmation, and he fully believes this, is that he's going to win the lottery. I went, okay. She said, here's the problem. I said, oh boy. I said, what? She said, he doesn't play the lottery. I went, okay, yeah. I could see the disconnect there. That is gonna, did you just snarf your drink?
I did a little bit. Yeah. No, because when you said that, it reminded me of a story. I think it was in Jack Canfield's Success Principles book. He shared that story. There was a story about that where it's like, this guy, every day or every week he'd go into church and he'd pray, God, please help me win the lottery, right? And each week it was like a more pleading kind of thing, like, come on, God, I'm here, I'm pleading with you. I've been a good guy. Help me win the lottery. And then finally the heavens open and God goes, well, son, play the lottery.
Right, go buy a damn ticket
if you're going to do it.
Right. So, but that's also a good thing. You can't just affirm and manifest. You have to actually do work. If you want these thousands of clients working with you, you actually have to work with them. You have to put it out in advertisement. You have to have a Facebook page. You have to do the work too. We shouldn't have to say that, but I think we have to say that. So I said, well, here's the question. I said, why does he want to win? It goes back to those 5 whys. Why does he want to win the lottery? He feels that's the only way he can have financial freedom. I said, okay, what's financial freedom why does he want financial freedom? Well, he's been incarcerated and he wants to help others and he wants to start a foundation. So he needs the money to do that. And he felt that the only way he could do that was to get this windfall of money. So we broke it down into what does he really want? And it turns out what he really wanted had nothing to do with winning the lottery. It had to do with he wanted to set up a foundation to help people. Okay, well, how else can he do that other than winning the lottery? And because he was incarcerated, he had all these parameters put on him. And we finally came to the conclusion of he has access to a computer in the prison or jail, whatever he was in. He has the ability to do a blog or to do a video cast, that thing. So we found another way for him to meet his objective. So sometimes that thing we think we want isn't actually what we want. It's a way to get to what we want. So when you're doing those affirmations, yeah, it's fine to think about what you don't want if it leads you to do want, and to help you just to figure out and really hone in, what do you really want? That's the question we have to ask.
Yeah. And that goes back to some of the other things that we talked about before with values and other stuff like that. Yeah. Because you've got to be really clear on where it is that you want to go. Because the more specific you can be as well when you're doing affirmations, the better. Yeah. If it's just something that's kind of, and again, you may have some that are kind of vague and in there, but the more specific you can be and the more clarity you can have around it, the easier those things are actually going to show up.
Absolutely. Let me throw in science for a second for all of our non-believing friends. So studies support that using affirmations actually can change our health. So if we are walking around worried about getting sick, oh, I hope I don't get sick. Oh, I better get a shot so that I don't get sick. Oh, don't get near me, you'll get me sick. Oh, geez, do I look sick? I feel like every July I get sick. All your brain hears and all your subconscious hears is sick, 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 sick. And in you stressing about getting sick, it actually depletes your immune system and you're going to probably be more prone to getting sick. So if nothing else, doing affirmations changes your mindset away from that stress and that worry and that negativity. And people who are negative tend to achieve less. They tend to be more sick. They tend to have less life satisfaction. So at the very least, that makes a change. At the absolute best, that affirmation is actually working. So to say something like, I am healthy and well, my immune system is strong and resilient, it actually boosts our immune system. So studies support, and they've done tons of studies with sports performance specifically because it's measurable. If you say, I have a bullseye before you throw the dart, you get more bullseyes than if you say, I'm a loser, I can't do this, this is stupid, I'm terrible at it. So this actually does work. And we were going to talk about sort of what the manifestation versus state. Is that what we're going to talk about a little bit? Why don't you...
The difference between, belief statements versus in trying to help change your beliefs versus trying to manifest certain things, right? And so again, because like I said, I mean, to kind of do a belief statement, because there's the whole idea that the thoughts that we have about conditions lead to our feelings and beliefs that we actually have. So if you want to change your feelings and beliefs, you have to change your thoughts. And that's where affirmations come in and help. And so, again, but maybe kind of the difference between, a belief statement versus a manifestation statement, right? Is some of these are probably going to be about beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs. We all want to change how we feel. We want to change how we believe. And so those statements would actually be written and said in a way that is actually changing the way that we're thinking, right?
Yep.
And so you bring up the sick thing, right? And again, it's like, I mean, I've seen this in my own personal life. All the people who say, I can't get sick, I can't get sick, I can't get sick, they're the ones that get sick, right? And what have I told myself my whole life? I never get sick, right? I'm always healthy. I don't get sick. And again, it's kind of like where you focus is where your energy actually goes, because I believe that I don't get sick.
Me neither.
Right. I'm yes, I'm a little overweight. I've got, some other things going on, but relatively I am healthy, and I don't contract, the flu and the cold and everything that everybody gets, because my body just doesn't accept that.
Yep.
Because I've spent years kind of training myself that that's not me. Everybody else gets sick, but I don't.
Right. The same exact way. People have made fun of me for that. I was at a family event, and they're like, "Oh, dear, don't hug me. I'll get you sick." And I looked at her. I said,
No,
I don't get sick.
Yeah.
And the entire family was kind of like. And then the next time I saw them, there was somebody who else was sick, and I went to hug them. Oh, no, you'll get sick. And I went, we covered this. And she goes, oh, that's right, you don't get sick. And she said it in this like snotty, like way. And I said, yeah, don't you wish you didn't get sick? And she kind of went, yeah. Like,
well, start doing affirmations on it.
I can teach you that, but you guys think I'm crazy. So yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, so it's like, I am fabulous, I am beautiful, I am healthy. Those are those belief statements that we're talking about. But what if you don't believe it?
Ooh, so this is where, because I know you help a lot of your clients with this, and you talk about this a lot. What if we don't believe it? And so we feel like, almost like a fraud, or that we're like, trying to force something that's never going to happen. What are some ways that we can actually do better about that?
Fake it till you make it.
Oh, really? I've never heard that before.
No, I know. Yeah, I just made that up.
You just made that up?
I just made that up.
Yeah, and this is where, the whole idea of fake it till you make it goes back to, I think, one of the things that we referenced at the beginning, that a lot of times people don't give this enough time. Right. They'll hear some podcast, they'll read some book, and they're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And they sit down and they write out these things, and they figure out what they're going to say, and they say it to themselves for like 3 days,
right? Maybe
a week. And then they're like, this isn't working.
This is stupid.
Stupid. It doesn't work.
I'm not rich yet.
And then they stop.
Right.
And the reality is, it takes 30 to 90 days for you to start to see a difference. Now, fake it till you make it. Again, if we're not talking about habits today, but it's the same thing. To break a habit or to start a new habit takes how long?
21 days.
21 days at least. And again, it's usually
21 days.
30 to 90 days.
Oh, really? Shoot. Well,
you really see it.
I'm advanced.
Yeah. You're better than the average.
I'm so quick. That's a Capricorn thing. 30 days, I'll do it in 21.
But that's the idea, right? It takes at least 21 days to do something like that. So you've got to stick with this. And I know I've seen this in my own personal life, right? It usually takes me between 30 to 90 days for anything to really stick, and for me to recognize the change.
Yes.
And there's probably a couple of reasons for that. One is it actually takes us time to reprogram ourselves, because that's literally what we're doing. We're reprogramming our brain, just like if we were reprogramming a computer. So it takes time to do that. But the other thing is, because we see ourselves every day, we don't notice the incremental change. And so usually it takes, quite a while for us to actually recognize that change, even though we're making little changes every day.
That's a great point.
And so, as an example, I was, I remember this, I was living over in Germany for a couple of years, so I didn't see my family for a while. And I remember coming back home, and this one niece that I have, she was just like this little tiny kid, and she had like hit puberty and like shot up.
Uh-huh.
And I came back home and I remember seeing her and I'm like, holy crap, right?
Yep.
She didn't see those changes. Her family didn't necessarily see those changes because they were every day. But
Yep.
because I had that 2-year window, it was like, this is a totally different girl.
Oh my God,
Right?
I had that exact experience yesterday. I had a client come in. I started working on him when he was like 14 for soccer, still doing massage and stuff on him. And he walked in yesterday. He drove himself, which I went, oh my God, that's right. He's almost 18. He walked in the door and I thought, oh my God, he's a man.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
like
is.
he went from this skinny little kid to he had shoulders and he had facial hair and his leg hair. I was like, oh my God, I saw him like 10 months ago. Like,
Yeah.
how did this, and if had I seen him weekly, maybe you could see it a little bit change, but you don't see the water rising an inch at a time. You see it when it's 5 feet up the pylon and you go, oh, holy crap. Yeah, no, it's so funny. Exact same thing. Oh, I have another cheat for us with these affirmations if we don't believe it. Okay. So I can't remember who I learned this from. It's similar to what Peter did with us. It's the getting excited about it, but it's a cheat of what if your affirmation is, I have $1 million. Okay. What if you don't believe you have $1 million? What if you don't believe you can have $1 million? Do it this way. I love money. I love having money. I love making money. I love having an abundance of money. I love having so much money that I get to give it to all my friends. I love the fact that I can travel because I have so much money. I love having $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
You cheat your way into it, and it's easier to say that when you can go through all those incremental steps. You go through those incremental steps first of, I love money. I love having money. I love having an abundance of money. I love having extra money. I love having $1 million. It kind of tricks your mind into going, I do love that. Yeah. So that's another cheat, is building up incrementally to that.
Well, and I think that's good because, like when we talked to Peter before, because I remembered he was very animated in the way he did it, just like how you were animated in, oh, I love money. I love giving money to my friends. I loved taking vacations, right? Mm-hmm. Excuse me. It's the same thing when you're doing your affirmations. And so this is an area probably to plug in kind of another tip here to help people as they're going through this. I've done a lot of research on how we actually learn in helping people, for example, study for certification exams, professional certification exams, or other things. And there's these two different processes in our brain, one called the orthographic and the other called the phonologic. And we won't get into all the boring details today about that. But when you combine those, because each of those follows a different pattern, and when you follow that pattern, it records it in different places in your brain. So I created a concept called multi-sensory learning, where you are trying to activate as many of your senses as possible. And when you do that combined with these loops, it's literally programming it in different parts of your brain.
Nice.
So instead of recording it one place, you might be recording it 5 different places. And what Peter did is exactly part of that. So the loop is, in multisensory learning, you see it, you say it, you hear it, and then you write it. Okay. And so here's what actually works very well is when you come up with those affirmation statements, longhand writing it out in cursive.
The loopy stuff we're not taught anymore.
The loopy stuff is the best way because it's a kinesthetic, it's motion, it's everything else. We're seeing it as we're writing it. And so here's kind of a tip to do, and this will help you get the benefits quicker. And again, program it in the other places. So you write them down. So you're seeing it. You say it to yourself out loud. When you say it to yourself out loud, you are hearing it. And then after you hear it, you write it out in long cursive. So you see it, say it, hear it, and write it.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you're writing it, you're seeing it again. And so you're effectively starting the loop over or closing the loop. And when you do it in an animated way, right, like Peter did, if you say, I love money, I love going on vacation with my friends and family, I love giving my family money. Yeah, you're falling asleep, right?
Well, I don't even know that I could do that. I mean, like, how can you say those things without getting freaking excited about it?
You gotta get excited. I love money, right?
Get excited.
So the more that you do that, and like I said, after we talked to Peter and some other things that had gone on in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm probably not as animated as I should be when I'm doing these. So I've tried to overact. I love, and I remember a
What?
whisper from a Jim Carrey movie, and I can't remember the other actor that he was working with, but it was a blooper, and they're like, "You're an overactor," because Jim Carrey can be so
Oh my
animated,
God.
right?
Yeah.
And so the more animated we are like that, the more you're actually going to feel it. So I tried it out, and I've been doing it for about a month now. And I will tell you, I know it sounds a little woo-woo-y, but when I do it more animated, I literally feel like a shift of energy in my body.
Yeah, of course.
And I get excited, and I feel kind of the shivers and the goosebumps and everything else that are going through. And so that does make a difference. So the more excited and excitable you can be about it, the more it's going to do it. So say it excited to yourself, and then write it down and do it every single day.
Yep. And another tip to throw in on that, and doing it multiple times a day is totally fine. It's not like you do it once a day and you're like, I took my vitamin, I'm done. If you do anything you do a half hour before you go to bed, goes straight into your subconscious. So writing cursive right before you go to bed is a prime way of getting things straight into your subconscious to make those changes. So if you do those in your journal, if you have your affirmation book or whatever it is, right before you go to bed, that's going to be a fabulous time to do your affirmations. Oh, I wanted to share a success story, but we're running out of time. Okay, I'll quickly share the success story. It's been a half hour already.
What?
Yeah, I know. Speaking of time shift. So I decided I wanted to make more money. And folks, don't think that all Jason and I want to do is make money. It just happens to be what we're talking like. That's just
it's a common affirmation that people have.
Right. So I decided that, I was a massage therapist. I could only charge so much, and I could only do so many massages in a day. So I decided I wanted to make more money. So I started doing the affirmation. I accept money from unexpected sources, because I didn't care where it came from, barring anything bad happening to someone, but I needed more money. And I feel like the universe is prosperous and that we do deserve that abundance. I think we all do. So I started doing that affirmation. I was writing it down. I put it on my mirror in the bathroom. I had it on my dashboard in my car. I had it in my office. I was saying it throughout the day. And about 4 or 5 days later, this is a quick one, 4 or 5 days later, I get a phone call. Hey, Kathy, this is so-and-so from the Expert Witness Company. We're wondering if you've ever considered being an expert witness. And I'm like, no, because I've seen CSI and they need like bridge construction and like neurosurgeons. Why do you need a massage therapist? And apparently someone had been injured during a massage and they wanted a massage therapist to come in and testify to like scope of practice and safety precaution, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, sure. I mean, I don't know. What does it entail? And she said, well, you'll read reports and you'll write reports and you'll probably have to be deposed and you'll have to read depositions and you might have to testify, and it pays $250 an hour. And I said, yes, I can do that. And I read very slowly. No, but I ended up starting to work with this company. I made a really good amount of money. I helped so many people. I've done probably 10 or 12 cases. I kept one guy out of jail. I got a bunch of massage therapists who were really bad at their job and they should not have been putting their hands on people out of the business. It's been a win-win-win. And I can't say it was the affirmation that did it, but it's exactly what happened. All this money came in from a totally unexpected source because I wouldn't have thought to go seek that out. So that's just one of those examples where I truly believe that has worked. And a couple of times that I've done it since, I accept money from unexpected sources. What happens within a week? I get an email. Hey, we'd like to pitch you for this case. So for some reason, that affirmation for me is tied to expert witness work. Or you get a speaking gig where they want to give you, a couple grand to go do a keynote, or this unexpected thing that comes up. And it is about believing it, because now I believe that it works because I've seen it work. So make that shift. And what are your final thoughts, Jason?
I know we got to wrap up because I know we're going to have to talk about this again because, again, I think this is such an important topic that we're going to have to go deeper on this.
Yeah.
But as you were saying that one there, I accept money from unexpected sources, right? I think that's also a great example of when you're trying to come up with these affirmations. We said you want to be specific,
yes,
but you want to be specific in what you get, not the how you get there.
Yes.
As well. So I think that's a great example of, instead of saying, I want to make more money as a massage therapist, just saying I accept money from unexpected sources is way better. You don't care where it comes from. And that's where a lot of times when you do this kind of work, it comes from unexpected places or in unexpected experiences or other things like this. And so we need to remain open as well to receive however this comes, because the story that we're telling ourselves a lot of times is not how it will play out. So don't try to limit yourself or limit what the universe can help you with by being too specific in the how you actually achieve what you're trying to get to.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. We want to be, it's such a dichotomy, because there are times we want to be so specific and other times where we want to allow the universe to do its thing in its own time, in its own way, or better. That's the other thing. If you're doing manifestation stuff, is you can ask for, I want this thing or better, because what if they want to give us 2 million and not 1 million?
Yeah, that'd be okay with me.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's do that. All right, well, let's go off and do our affirmations.
All right, sounds good.
This has been such an awesome episode. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we did this. Okay, I am Kathy Gruver, and I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So take a few minutes, try to start out with some affirmations, start incorporating them into your life, and you will see a difference. And we will see you on a future episode of the Fire and Earth podcast.
See ya.
See ya.